Hello, America. Welcome to the Junto Podcast, where we promote the practical applications of critical thinking and bold creativity. I am your host, Edgar Mills. Thanks for joining us. Hello, America. Welcome to episode 28 of the Junto Podcast. Thank you all so much for sticking with me. And thank you for those who have given the feedback. It is much, much appreciated. And that's it. So today, what are we talking about? Well, we're going to revisit a topic that I've talked about before last year when I don't know, it's one of my early episodes, but we're going to readdress some things on multiculturalism in America. The pros and cons. What are the pros and cons of all this multiculturalism and this welcoming anyone and everyone with open arms, unchecked, and things like that? How does it affect our society and our culture and our politics? Or does it? I don't know. And as always, we're going to look at this through a libertarian lens where libertarians value freedom, individuality, that kind of thing. We're going to look through sort of an objectivist lens, which focuses on proof and demands reason. And then we're going to look at it through Christian principles in reference to sort of justice and individual dignity and that kind of thing. Now, what's my bottom line? Those of you that know me kind of know my bottom line is individualism kind of cuts through all the noise, and individualism lets us build real connections in the midst of all this diversity and all these different backgrounds and different people from different places and different ethnicities and different belief systems. Well, as individuals, we can cut through all that and get to the real people. So let's jump into it. First of all, multiculturalism does enrich America in various ways. It is good in various ways. People from different and diverse backgrounds can and do bring fresh ideas to the marketplace, to business, to the arts, and it gives kind of we build kind of a different energy when we have a multifaceted team of people around us, or friends, or our little, friend circle and that kind of thing. And it makes us stronger as Americans, right? As Americans, not just white, male, Christian, but I mean all Americans, right? It makes us all stronger when we have these sort of diverse friend circles and things. And you can think about the early immigrants, and I'm talking about late 1800s that built America proper, like they came in here and they turned America into a powerhouse, or at least they contributed. They were the fuel for that. And they fueled growth in the economy and in the infrastructure and all the things. And there was people from all over the place building America. And when you have a friend circle or group, or at least workmates or anything like that, people with diverse backgrounds from different parts of the world or different religions even, that as individuals helps us to develop empathy. And empathy is important. It is important. And also it helps us to create bonds with unique people. Like I guess it's easy to create bonds with people who are just like you. But what I've discovered in my life is that people who aren't just like you can create like very strong bonds, like with those people, just by cutting through the subterfuge of all the things that make us different. You can really focus on the things that make us the same, and that's good. That's good. And I'll give you a real simplified, for instance, is diversity in America and how is it good? I'll give you a very simplified example. Food. Yeah. We all have our favorite foreign foods, folks. Me and my wife love Mexican food. I happen to love Korean food. And I also happen to love Afghan food. These foods that we love, they are at their very best when they're prepared by people who are from the regions where those foods originate. Yeah. And I'll tell you this. So just the other day, I had lunch with a fella who was one of my interpreters when I was in Afghanistan. And he is now an American citizen and lives not too far from me. And his wife made me, well, that we all had together, we all had lunch, and it was Afghan rice and bread and all that. And oh my God, it was so delicious. It was so delicious because it was authentic. It was the real deal. It was so delicious. And even from biblical guidance, right? One of the best ways to build trust with someone is to what? Is to break bread with them, folks. That's right. To sit down for a meal and talk about things over a meal. That is one of the best ways to build trust between people. And over time, man, one plate at a time, you know what I'm saying? Building that trust. One place at a time. And that's a good thing, folks. That's a good thing. And when you sit down and break bread with folks, you get past the surface level, talking points or whatever, and you can start to really see the humanity in somebody, or not. Now, if the person's an absolute bad human, that's one thing. But generally speaking, folks, sit down and have lunch with someone, have dinner with someone, really break bread with them, and you see their humanity. You can see the things that make these people good, and then you can relate to it, and that's it. Now, in order to do that, everything starts with being a strong individual, and I don't really mean physical strength. I mean in character, that you know who you are, and you're at peace with your personality and your spirituality and your demons and all these things, that you are a strong, autonomous individual. And then that expands out to communities. Yeah. And then if your community reaches out to nourish this multiculturalism and these different humans, and not isolate or reject, but reach out, yeah, you can build strong communities that way. Now, there's going to be some key words that I use here later, but just understand, it's not that hard to drop your facade or your tribal friggin' whatever and talk to someone who's different than you. But mixing these cultures, right? I've been around the world. I've been to many countries. I don't know, probably maybe 60 or 70 countries. And I've seen different traditions and different daily habits, life habits in different places and different things. I've eaten a lot of different food and things like that. That stuff really can spark creativity, for one, to go out and experience these other places and see the uniqueness of it. And speaking of creativity, the arts, for example, and I'll use jazz. I like jazz music. I love jazz. I've been listening to it since I was a young teenager anyway. Jazz is uniquely American, good people, but it is founded or grounded in African, Caribbean, European styles that are blended to create what became uniquely American, which is jazz. And some of the legends are out there, man. Miles Davis and Charlie Parker and Dave Brubeck and Louis Armstrong. Yeah, jazz was a phenomenon that endures today. And socially, that crossed all color lines. It crossed international lines. The Europeans loved it. Now, never mind the ills of America during the 40s, 50s, and so on, that really brought a culture, it really created a culture that was uniquely American and that everybody of all backgrounds could enjoy and appreciate and love and get into it, really. And I'll draw a comparison. I'll tell you another thing. is hip hop. I'm not a big hip hop fan. There's a few groups that I really like, mainly because, they're local or Atlanta originals or whatnot. But, in the late 70s, early 80s, man, kids from the Bronx, Puerto Ricans and black kids from the Bronx were scratching records, and boom. Next thing you know, hip hop and rap was a friggin' worldwide phenomenon, and it still endures today. Now, it's exploited, like all things eventually become exploited, but it still endures, and there are still true grassroots people out there doing the business. And another, no, not necessarily reggae altogether, but Bob Marley specifically crossed, cultural lines and kind of made reggae during the 70s, man, kind of made reggae sort of a mainstream thing. And, ska came out from reggae. So is that an enduring phenomenon? I don't know. There's still a group, little small pockets of people that love some ska and reggae. Yeah. But why did it cross lines of culture and diversity? Because he sang about common things, universal things, struggle, love, injustice, things like that. We can all wrap our minds around those things. And you don't have to lose your individual identity to do that, do you? You can like Bob Marley and still be a good old boy from Rome or whatever. You can like jazz, despite the portrayal of jazz in Ricky Bobby Talladega Nights. Yeah. Politically. Multiculturalism when it comes to politics. That's tricky, isn't it? So here's one of the key words I'm going to say. This multiculturalism in politics allows people of different backgrounds and different even views, but who have similar values. That's the key word, is values, who have similar values. It lets these people live free, speak free, without fear of any harsh repercussions, or to actually try to forward a conversation versus stomp someone out. So this multiculturalism gives people within politics, you get some new ideas, and some of them may, but if we have the similar values, then those ideas can still be, you can still listen, you can hear it, and you may reject it ultimately or not. And here's the other key word. So I used similar values, and then I'm going to say the word rational. And I know, yeah, rational people from any culture. If you are rational, you can come together on big political projects, on big policies, like civil rights, for instance. If we have a similar definition of justice, and we have similar values, and we're all rational, then we can all pitch in for sort of the same, at least to move in the same direction, right? At least to move in the same direction. Without what? Without fear of losing our individual identity. We don't have to join some tribe. We don't have to be black and white or red and blue. I think politics is largely like marriage. It's made up of compromise, folks. It's meant to be that way in America, by the way. It's meant to be that way so that we do not have tyranny of the majority. So those are some of the ways that, multiculturalism is good in America. Most things in America are good, but let's go into how multiculturalism is used to undermine America. Yeah, it also is that, right? It ain't all rainbows and unicorns and chocolate rivers, folks. It ain't that at all. Multiculturalism, when exploited, wreaks absolute havoc and chaos. Yep. We see it on the Twitters or X and the news every damn day. We see it. And it splits us it divides us up into various warring tribes identified by whatever identity, whatever groupthink, whatever that is. And it kills off that which is truly America, folks. It kills it. Multiculturalism doesn't kill it. The exploitation of it does. Yeah. Because what is America? It's meant to be liberty and justice for all. Yeah, that sounds simplistic, but that's what it's meant to be. It took us a long time to even get close to that. And the closer we got, the more people started exploiting. And they apply these group labels. And you fit in this group or that group. And then it exacerbates, it just outright fabricates mistrust and long-held grudges and beefs that keeps people apart, that keeps people from coming together. Because Lord knows, there's nothing wrong. The multiculturalism is not the problem. It's the exploitation of. And that's the case with just about everything. And largely, folks, I'm going to go ahead and say it's political exploitation. But there are people, civilian, these nonprofits out there who profit off the division. Good people. Yeah. There's some colleges out there that advocate for separate dorm rooms by ethnicity, color, and they try to couch it. They say it. It sounds very supportive. Sounds very like, they safe space, blah blah. But all it does is divide, builds division, literal division and literal isolation. Instead of providing a genuinely safe connection point, you are now walking around college segregated. And then you got the colleges pushing this madness, and you got black students out there. I'm not going to talk to any non-melanated people because they're exploiting me. You got crazy shit like that goes on all across institutes of higher learning. And I say that tongue in cheek, folks. Institutes of higher learning. And then they make assimilation, they make that a dirty word. You can't, the culture must bend to you as your group, whatever that group is. It's unfathomable that you assimilate to the culture that you are a part of. Yeah. I think colleges have a lot of blame. They take a lot of that blame along with the politicians. Diversity quotas, folks, things like that, this DEI madness and all these, that shoves merit aside. You no longer, it's not a matter of whether you're good at a thing or you're the best at XYZ. It just, your skill, the things you go to school to learn or whatever, are all set aside for a list of check boxes. And that turns genuine free exchange into just fake performative parades. It's just a charade, not a parade, a charade, a charade. Yeah. It's all false. And then these tribes, they get locked into this group identity. And then even within your tribe, it ignores what you as an individual bring to the table. Yeah. And these tribes, and I'll use art again as an example, they will either promote or reject, a work of art based on a person's ethnicity or politics instead of, the aesthetic or the emotion that the art invokes. When you look at a piece of art, now I happen to know about some of the older great, artists of the past, but if you're standing in a building, an art museum, and or an art gallery or studio, and you're looking at a piece of art, but you have no idea who painted it or drew it or whatever, and you just let the art speak to you, and you get moved emotionally, and you see all the colors and the things, and it reminds you, it puts you in a place, and you either have some feelings of nostalgia or romanticism, or you're looking at it and you're over, you have a sense of like joy, like this feels right. And then you find out that the artist is, I don't know, someone of a different color or religion. And then you somehow no longer feel those same things about the art. Did the art change? No, not at all. Not at all. So that stuff doesn't make any sense, does it? Merit. Was it good art? I mean, really, that's it. We have a conversation around the house sometimes, especially with my daughter, about separating the art from the artist, right? Because there's a lot, I happen to love movies, and there's a lot of very, very leftist actors out there pushing bizarre agendas. And here's an example, Sean Penn. Man, I like so many movies that guy's in are just good. Really just good. And I'm thinking from the State of Grace, I want to say that one. If you remember Bad Boys, the original, not with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Even more recently, I don't know, 10 years or so ago, Walter Mitty, which was kind of not a remake, but sort of a reimagining of an old movie. But even in that, I thought he was awesome, man. But that guy's an absolute douchebag. His politics are absolute garbage. And I don't want to hate his movies. I don't. So I'll watch them. Yeah. I thought Walter Mitty was awesome. Yeah, Ben Stiller, same. His politics, to me, I don't care for it. Tropic Thunder? Oh, man. Cinematic gold right there. Cinematic gold. Yeah. Separating the art from the artist. Don't let that stuff twist you up. Don't let that stuff twist you up. Politics, the red and blue, man, they twist you up. They want to twist identities up in order to fire up their base, right? Their extreme base. The true believers, the people who lack any critical thinking whatsoever. And that fires up greed and jealousy and oppression, racism, all these things. And that keeps the votes flowing their way, people. And they get a lot from that. The Democrats, they hype racial injustice in order to lock in minority votes. And they do that by tying any and every policy to systematic racism. No matter what it is, no matter what any Republican proposes, it's systematic racism. And Republicans, they do the same thing. They stoke fear of like, they get the white country folks fired up because of the replacement theory, cultural replacement, right? They're bussing in and flying in immigrants to replace us. And that might be a legitimate goal of extreme Democrats. Who knows? But practically speaking, that ain't never going to happen. If you play it out long enough, maybe. But they keep us divided. Why? So that they can conquer us, folks. That's it. Divide and conquer. And that's the same techniques those are Marxist techniques. And both sides use them, by the way. Marxist techniques. They stir up this class war. Or they repeat lies over and over and over until they seem like they're fact. Yeah, repeat a lie enough and it'll become the fact. Yeah. And then the media, they're complicit as well. All they do is pump out manufactured consent in order to distract you from what's really going on. The real, yeah. And they are very complicit in turning neighbors into enemies, the media. You got one house watching friggin' CNN, the couple 100,000 that do. And then you got the other house watching Fox. And they get all poopy over some bullshit that you don't see in your everyday life, by the way. Yeah, you don't see that in your everyday life. So politics, they will twist identities. They take this multiculturalism, and instead of using it to make America really and truly great, they use it as a division point. Yeah. They use it as a division point. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what culture you're from. They'll put you in a little box and then tell you how you're being discriminated against or whatnot. Yeah. Nothing says progress like politicians pitting Americans against each other so they can maintain their insider trading options. You know what I mean? All right. Damn. So blind acceptance of this multiculturalism without any checks and balances, without anything whatsoever, erodes any accountability, individual accountability. Yeah, it erodes that. Once you're in a group, you're no longer responsible for your individual actions. That's the working model right now. Yeah, once you're in a group, and I point to Antifa. Yeah, they're nothing but destructive. Nothing positive has come from any Antifa thing. Or BLM, by the way. So once you're in the group, you no longer are accountable for your actions. You can just go destroy things, create millions of dollars, billions of dollars worth of damage, beat people up, rob stores, do whatever, all in the name of oppression. Or if you're not one of these groups, one of these activists, extremist groups or whatever, then you got people just dodging blame by hiding behind, it's my culture. You don't understand my culture. Well, there's standards of behavior in all cultures. Yeah. And that shit rots away at the system. And I think it's purposeful in some cases, at least the way the politicians do. It rots at the system in an attempt to invalidate the current system. You can say what you want, but our system is still one of the best on the planet. Real justice, true justice, right? That calls for us to own our own actions, our individual actions, and to live according to some set of sort of societal standards and behavior anyway, behavioral standards. And if we do that, if we take accountability for our own actions, then we can maintain our own individual dignity. If I'm a part of a group, but some dude acts like an asshole, but I'm not an asshole, then that's it. I'm maintaining my internal standards and integrity. Excuse me. You are still responsible for your actions. Don't let this groupthink collectivism make you believe otherwise. So no matter what group you're in, no matter how oppressed you think you are, you should and you should be judged, and you should judge other people by the content of their character. Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr. said that. Not labels. And if you can do that, judge on an individual standard, then everyone will have to step up. Nobody gets a free pass. As it is right now, some people get free passes, some people don't. Nobody gets free passes. Nobody gets free passes. You get judged by the content of your individual character, not what your stupid-ass group is doing. All these forced, unnatural, this group hug, friggin' conformity, and this collective, there's no real choice there for you. If you put yourself in a part of this group, you're no longer operating on free choice. You got to do what the masses, the angry mob, does. But if you stick to your own, now I'm going to say the word rational again. Stick to your own rational path. Own your own wins and losses. Don't depend on some organization. Apparently Antifa is not an organization. Did you guys know that? I'm hearing that these days. It's not even a real thing. I'm hearing from people who are professed members of Antifa. Own your own wins and losses. Problem is, some people don't want that responsibility. Yeah, that's the problem. Do celebrate your roots, wherever they're at, wherever your roots are. Whether they're in, did you know that Robert Edgar Mills, I'm mostly Irish with English and Scottish, real white, right? Obviously, and some Scandinavian. Some of the Nordic countries, I got DNA all over there. But 2% of my DNA comes from Cameroon in West Africa. Did you know that? Yeah. Isn't that crazy? The Bantu peoples of Cameroon. Yeah, I'd like to see where that happened in the timeline. Do you know what I mean? Probably some friggin' Viking pirate down on the West Coast somewhere doing weird shit. Anyway, by claiming whatever this group is, or whatever, just black, white, these big, broad blanket groups, and then thinking you can just do whatever the hell you want, you're discounting all those little nuances, folks. You're discounting all the things that make you a unique individual. And then you're just a robot for that whatever club. And that's terrible to be that way. Celebrate your roots, but don't use them as a excuse or a shield to block you from your screw ups or your shitty personality or whatever. You know what I mean? Looking at all these things that I'm talking about here as individuals. Okay, as an individual, from the individual angle, we as individuals, we will reach out and grab hold of different cultural things, different religion, or we'll embrace the ethnic differences. And we do this by choice in order to not to be a part of a tribe that I can go to war with this other tribe, but to somehow put our life into context and give it some meaning, right? Religion. People are seeking God or seeking whatever it is you're out there seeking to find some kind of meaning. You adopt certain cultural traits from your people, from where you're from or whatever, to have a memory, to hang on to that. You know, my granddad did this, so I still do this. And it gives you that connection to your past, which is awesome. This is awesome. And there's nothing wrong with it. It makes our lives richer because of it. But we just don't need the drama of the collectivism. If we can individually do those things and reach out and then own it, right? I am this. This is what I am. This is who I am. And that doesn't mean you can't be who you are. You see what I mean? I'm not trying to shit on who you are, so don't shit on who I am. We should embrace variety. That's the spice of life, folks. I've said that my whole life. Variety. But embrace that variety for sure, but smash any attempt at exploitation of that variety, any propaganda that turns that variety toxic. And recognize when that's happening, folks. I'll tell you, you know who recognized that happening? Malcolm X recognized that happening. He went through a very interesting process as an adult in his critical thinking journey. And he realized that the black community was being used by liberal politicians, specifically white liberal politicians. And he warned the black community about it. And then he got murdered. But I don't understand how, especially in the black community, you can latch on to some bullshit BLM whatever and completely discount one of the most famous icons of the civil rights. I mean, who is it? Martin Luther King Jr. or Malcolm X? Two of the most famous, most iconic figures in the civil rights movement, and just completely disregard what he had to say. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. But I'm going to continually remind you. As individuals, and this is the way it is, this is the way I live my life. I treat people, as an autonomous individual. I don't lump people in with groups like a pawn. You're not on the white team or the black team. A pawn to be used, to be sacrificed. No, I don't do that. I treat every individual uniquely according to that individual and our interactions. And if everybody did that, I think that we would slowly begin to kill off the ability for the politicians to exploit our differences. If you just outright reject any of their exploitation methods and techniques, they will cease to work. Yeah. And how can we do it, folks? How can we do it? Well, first and foremost, I said this earlier, we have to build ourselves first. We have to be strong, independent. We have to know who we are. So many people today don't. There's so much identity crisis. Now, used to back in the day, in the, I don't even know, 50s, 60s, 70s, probably even before that. But, when you were in high school, you had, there was identity crisis. For some people, like you're hitting puberty or there was weird times. You didn't know who you wanted to be. Well, that's fine in high school. You're young, especially or like junior high or middle school or whatever, where you're going through the changes. You know what I mean? Your little nuts are starting to drop. You're starting to get your little boobies. Your emotions are acting crazy. Hair's starting to grow. You're starting to smell bad. There are weird things going on. Yeah. And you don't know who you are. Well, these days you've got political activists trying to tell you who you are and trying to force you into whatever their box is that they've chosen for you. Well, the problem now is there's adults like that as well. Now, there's whole books and websites and whole industries built about helping you find out who you are. That's beyond the scope of this podcast. But you got to do it, folks. You got to find out who you are and what you believe. And then be that. Strengthen yourself. And then, well, check this out. Love yourself. And once you love yourself, guess what? Then you can build your crew. You can love your crew, the people in your immediate vicinity, your immediate family, or your close friends. And once you can love them unconditionally and accept them for who they are, then guess what? Then you can open up to the broader community. Then you can start looking at people as autonomous individuals, and then you can start to develop relationships with these other people. You're confident in yourself. You're good to go, right? So you don't have to be nervous, or you don't have to dance around issues or walk on eggshells. And then you can start to build your community from a place of respect. Yeah, mutual respect. Not trying to down talk somebody for believing this or that or the other, but just a general individual respect. Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? So you have that individual freedom to be who you are. You allow that individual freedom and fairness for other people to be who they are. And then you start to see that, okay, well, we're different, and here's how we're different. And then instead of letting that wedge us apart, you can figure out how can we use these differences to our benefit? Right? We might not go to the same church or whatever, but maybe we both like a thing, whatever thing that is, whether it's, I don't know, shooting guns or drinking coffee, watching movies, or PT, working out, you know what I mean? Things like that. We all as the human race, folks, we all share very similar wiring. We're all created, we all bleed the same color for sure, right? But then we have different upbringings and things like that, and our different languages and different, our subconscious patterns are different. They were developed differently in a different environment, but we're developed enough that we can let these cultures intermingle, right? We can let our cultures intermingle and grow without exploiting and murdering each other, without friggin' exploiting and murdering each other. God dang. We can. We have that capacity. And a lot of people do it all day, every day. It's just not what you see on TV, what you see on the socials. Once you're able to see the truth behind all the propaganda, and then you see and you appreciate, understand, understand and appreciate the value of individual identity, then all these cultural clashes will turn into growth opportunities. Whether it be spiritual growth, individual physical growth, friggin' business growth, or whatever it is, artistic growth. Instead of seeing these as clashes, we can use them as growth opportunities. But you always have to beware, folks. Beware of the partisan political hype machines, the hidden agendas. Usually not from the individual. Individuals, I would say, usually don't have the hidden agenda. Their tribe is what has the agenda. And watch out, the paid agitators, or the blame game, the economic blame game. Government shutdown because they want to spend money on illegals, blah, blah. They don't want to spend money. Meanwhile, military guys, like them or hate them, ain't getting paid, right now. Beware of the echo chambers, the non-stop 24/7 echo chambers. Beware of them. Cut them off. Play mahjong, man. That's one of my nighttime little things. I'll zone out with some mahjong. I love that. It's like a little memory game. Well, all these things keep us split on purpose. Yeah, for a very distinct purpose. They keep us split so that we can't come together and create a better way. Call it out, folks. Call it out. Be an eagle eye. Be an osprey. Have the eyes of an osprey and the claws, the talons of an osprey. Yeah, call that shit out. Swoop down on it. Because if you do, all these things that are seen as cultural clashes and cultural differences, they do become strength instead of weapons against each other. Weapons for the politicians. Yeah, that's right. That's right. When individuals are driving the bus, multiculturalism shines. And it doesn't encroach on anyone. It shines in art and business and food. And everybody wins. Yeah. Now, it's easy to talk about the arts a lot. I mean, that's one of the most obvious, right? And food's one of the most obvious. And business, well, yeah, there's a lot of multicultural corporations out there. Now, you can be angry with the corporation-y corporations doing corporation-y things. But for instance, I hate Apple. Not because they're diverse, but they are. Yeah, Apple's a pretty diverse company. And they've got incredible worldwide campaigns that speak to wherever they're at. And you know who else? It's not talked about as often, but what's one of the biggest companies? Coca-Cola, folks. Yeah, they have this America is Beautiful ad that was the anthem was sung in different languages. And, people love that, man. All over the world. They love it. And that's an example of, it's marketing, but it's still marketing multiculturalism. Yeah. It's good. There are wins. There are wins with multiculturalism. There are. What's some of the downsides? Well, anything in the extreme is bad, but extreme multiculturalism loses when it's used and exploited to fuel rage, chaos, division, and literal destruction of American cities, like Antifa, like BLM. That's the ugly side of it. They just dress up thuggery as heroism for the little guy, but they're not the little guy. They're not the little guy at all. And they go out and destroy businesses, destroy, literal blocks and blocks and blocks of American businesses. And it doesn't matter what race, by the way, who owns the business. Everybody gets screwed on that. Yeah. Portland, 2020 or 2021, when Portland was closed down, it was the Antifa versus the Proud Boys. These jokers were throwing Molotov cocktails, and the streets were like friggin' war zones. CNN was reporting mostly peaceful protests. Regular humans were horrified. Businesses were just trashed. Yeah. And that's the thing. When you adopt the tactics of the people you purport to hate, you've not won. You've lost. You're no different. You're no better. That's it. That's the way it is. And that's a failure. If you want to hate fascists, that's great. So do I. But if you use fascist tactics to push your message of how much you hate fascists, it's falling on deaf ears. The destruction kills any potential grassroots message there. Be an individual. Don't feed into the group madness. Use your individual voice. Yeah, you can't just go out and riot and call it social justice and expect to get anywhere. It just ends with more hate, and that's all. You can't do it. All right, man, is it a rant? I don't know. I hope I'm saying things. I don't know if what I'm saying has any impact or not, really. I think it does. I hope it does. Ultimately, what I'm trying to get at here, folks, is be an individual and rational self-interest. Make yourself a strong individual, and then be selfless in the way you treat other people. Help people. Yeah. Think for yourself, but help other people. Yeah. Judge people on merit, on content of their character. Is this guy an a-hole or is this a good guy? Don't place him in a group. And if he comes out and his whole identity is whatever group, then you have judged him on his individuality. He is not an individual. He's a mindless pawn of a group. You didn't make that judgment. He told you that. You see what I mean? Stay out of the angry mob. Don't let TV get you fired up with the mob rage. That's left and right, good people. That's left and right. Don't jump on political trends. The Free Palestine, Israel, genocide. Don't jump on it, folks. That shit's been going on long before you and me were around. And it's going to be going on long after. Yeah, there's peace deals right now. That's great. Don't jump on the trends, the politics of the day, because all it does is divide. That's all it's meant to do. Stay away from the group think. Think individually. The internet, it's a magical place. You can confirm or deny any shit you hear on the internet by going on the internet. Is it unrealistic to dream of a world where our character takes precedence over our group, the crowd we hang with? I don't think so. Be rational. Yeah, be rational. Follow your instinct. Hey, I read a book recently, and it had nothing to do with this at all, but there was something in there that talked about your instinct. Your instincts are usually right. Now, sometimes they may be misguided. It depends on how much you have built up in your subconscious, that's been programmed instead of your just individual learning. But follow your rational instinct. Yeah. And then confirm or deny along the way what your instincts are telling you. Act as an individual. Hustle as an individual. Treat people individually. But then within a group, because we all do have groups, right? Then be fair. Always. Yeah. And then next thing you know, man, America is a mixture of freedom and fairness for all. Well, man, imagine that. Yeah. Be a selfless individual, folks. Practice being a selfish individual. And then go out and spread that. That's what I got for you today. That's what I got for you. And I got that. Yeah. I was thinking about that, man. Having lunch with my former interpreter. His name's Sammy. And he said to me, man, this guy's from Afghanistan, war-torn, Afghanistan. And he's 30 years old, which means he grew up, the war was going on already, right? And he's like, man, it's tough living in America. I was like, man, damn, really? I mean, yeah, it's tough, man. Because he's still trying to grab hold. He's trying to understand the culture, and I'm, he's got friends and things like that. And his wife's got a good job a unique job. And he's got a beautiful little daughter, and she's fully American. And it's awesome. And she's beautiful. And yeah, it just struck me that like multiculturalism, it is good. Cause going over and taking my shoes off and going into Sammy's house and sitting down in the floor and having proper Afghan rice and bread and just talking about life. Yeah. Multiculturalism is good, and it can be great if we judge people on an individual basis and we act as an individual autonomous human. Yep. That's it, folks. Thanks for listening to my rant. All right. So what's going on? We got stuff coming up. I think in 2 weeks, maybe, we've got the Macabre match. That's a 2-gun match. In November, we got the Fall of the Wall 2-gun match. In November, we have a 2-day land navigation course, which there's plenty of space for, good people. And then in December, we have a 3-day land navigation course challenge. And that one, there's probably 2 seats. Potentially, there's 2 seats open for that. So if you want to really be challenged and you want to do an overnighter in the woods armed with some high quality land navigation knowledge, go ahead and check it out. So the land navigation stuff you can find at twoteamguys.com. And you can also find it on my other page along with all the shooting stuff on ospreyshootingsolutions.com. And then, of course, folks, the podcast. You can find all my blogs and the latest 3 podcasts on thejuntopodcast.com. And then, of course, we're on all the other platforms. So please share it with your friends. And please give me your feedback, good people. Please, I don't care where you drop it at, on Spotify or whatever I'll get the message. Please give me your feedback. If you think I need to go in and be more detailed, be more in depth on the things I deliver, please do. Please let me know that. If you have some topics that you'd like like to that you think need to be talked about, please let me know what they are, because I'm happy to research and get on them. And yeah, that's it, folks. Other than that, I appreciate all of you, and be good. Have good manners with other people. Yeah, treat people nice. All right. I love you guys. Take care.